Okay, so we have the last panel for today. It's supposed to have started at 6:10, so we're 5 minutes ahead of the time. So, but we're going to start now, and we'll close before 8:30. Today we'll close earlier than yesterday. So we're going to hand over to Dr. Otonye Ayodele, who's a sculptor, but also talks about textile. She is an art historian as well. She actually had a presentation yesterday. And we're going to bring in Chiaka Nodi, who's a textile expert, Deborah Jonathan, Ebidu Ulubenga, and A.B. Adeleke, who is connected from the United States of America. So I'm happy that we have people from Northern Nigeria. I actually set out to look for those artists and designers who are based in the North. Sometimes we exclude them when we do our programs in the Southwest or in the southern parts. So I'm happy that we have a good representation from Northern Nigeria. So I think I'll hand over this last segment to Dr. Otoye Ayodele. So you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof.
Textile lecturer and also serves as a resource person.
Thank you very much, Prof. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, we'll just quickly play the bios and then we'll have you, please.
Okay,
Thank you, ma'am.
okay. Thank you.
Center for Entrepreneurship and Employability, Federal University, Ndufuyelike, AE for 9, Ebonyi State. Chiaka is also the manager of AE for 9 Center for Indigenous Textiles, where she has carried out innovative explorations into the weaving traditions of Ibula. Her focus on indigenous knowledge systems, cloth weaving, in the Southeast aims at preserving and documenting the rich cultural heritage with the ultimate aim of upgrading the production process. She is presently the coordinator of a collaborative project between the university and Germany 3D Research Station. She is a member of the Society of Nigerian Artists, SNA, and the Art Council of African Studies Association, APSA. She will be speaking on entrenching Akwete weaving tradition within the university.
No, my sister goes to Peking. The school used to be the one here, but there are so many things that they don't pay attention to. You know, school, things have changed. And it is no longer, yes. So it's an old school and they've not changed with time. So a lot of things are going wrong, and it's because methods are different now. Children are more exposed now, so they need to change. They are not doing that. They're not doing that. So
our research focuses on creative designs of female fashion accessories.
So far, so good. And I like that this lady is wearing this Adire face mask.
Entrepreneurial and humanitarian work, where she applies her skills at the Center for Entrepreneurial Studies, Federal University of Lafayette. Deborah has participated in several art and science exhibitions and competitions, such as the 9th Annual National Art Competition, NSC. She also carried out a solo exhibition in 2015 on macrame fashion accessories. She is currently pursuing a PhD in textiles at the Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, exploring ashobed and fashionable women's headgear, or toge, as complement for indigenous fashion. She will be speaking on tie and dye as a factor of cultural impact. She will be speaking on tie and dye as a factor of cultural identification, a case study of the Kanuri cultural attire from Borno State. Emitu Olubenga Benjamin is a lecturer in the Department of Industrial Design, Federal University of Technology. Akure. His area of specialization is textile entrepreneurship. He has a BTech, MTech, and PhD in textile design. He has participated in both local and international conferences. He has been teaching textile courses for over 10 years, with an impressive record of having graduated more than 50 undergraduate and postgraduate students. Currently, he heads the textile section in the Department of Industrial Design, Federal University of Technology, Akure, and is the Associate Director at the Business and Incubation Center for Entrepreneurship, CENT, Federal University of Technology. He is the pioneer and current secretary of the Textile Society of Nigeria. He will be speaking on cottage dyeing industries among women in southeastern Nigeria. Abi Eso Adeleke is a graduate of the Universities of Ilorin and Ibadan, both in Nigeria, and Indiana University Northwest and Welding University, both in the United States. She holds a Doctor of Business Administration in Marketing. Over the years, Abi Adeleke has worked in various capacities in the United States, in the legal profession, public administration, and currently a compliance professional with a major retailer in the United States of America. Abi is an academic researcher, peer reviewer, and thought leader in small business marketing strategies. With an extensive engagement in communities, diversity, and inclusion initiatives, Abi is passionate about community outreach projects involving women and youth. She is also the owner of Abi Esho Accessories, a one-stop online shop for authentic African fashion accessories. In her spare time, Abi is passionate about health and wellness. She recently started a YouTube channel under her name, featuring life and marketing matters. She will be speaking on empowering women through African fashion accessories.
Thank you. So that's all the bios. Now we'll have the panel chair. Mrs. Otoya, are you there? Mrs. Otoya. Dr. Otoya, are you here? Sorry, actually, we played multiple bios because we have 4 people in the panel, and to avoid disrupting the session, we would rather play everything once. So sorry about that. Someone is asking a question in the chat box here. So that's all the panelists we have for the last panel. And we're waiting for Dr. Otoye to take this up.
She lost the connection.
She's here and she's not muted. Please, can anyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so Dr. Otoye, please. Okay, if she's not here right now, while we wait for her, I'll go ahead and play the video for the first presenter, which is Dr. Chaka Nodi. So come on in.
Good day, everyone. My name is Chiaka Ajuri Nodi. I'm the Department of Fine and Applied Art, Alex Federal University in Dufa, Dike, Ebonyi State. I'm presenting entrenching Akwete weaving within the university, AE Funai, as a case study. Our outline, we'll be looking at a brief background of Akwete cloths and weaving, introduction of Akwete into AE Funai, Alex Ekweme Federal University, different roles played by the Akwete Center, Akwete as a brand of the university. Okay, we'll look at a little background, a brief background. The Akwete cloth and its weaving tradition. The Akwete cloth is the traditional woven cloth of the people of Akwete in Doki, Abia State, Nigeria. The Akwete weaving tradition is a rich cultural heritage of Ndi or southeast of Nigeria. Traditionally, it's an ethnic enterprise. The weaving tradition is taught strictly within the family and passed on to the next generation. And about 20 years ago, I wanted to do my project and on Akwete. When I got there, they said, I'm not related to the family, I'm not from there, and they don't teach. So I had to leave it. Now, the problem with this is the arts, this weaving tradition began to, is dying off somehow. If nothing is done, because the younger people, they are passing the art to, are migrating to the big cities for better education, better jobs. So it's not like before. So, and so that's the need. There's a need there to really make sure that this weaving tradition does not go down. Okay, Akwete cloth is a beautiful, rich fabric, usually in bright colors and woven mainly by women on the vertical loom. It is woven whole, not in strips. Okay, introduction of Akwete weaving in Alex Ekweme Federal University in Dufadike. It was the initiative of the former Vice Chancellor of the school, Professor Chinedu Wajiba, in 2018. And when it was introduced, it was only within the textile unit of the fine and applied art. But by 2019, a center was formally opened for Akwete. The main driving force is to preserve this rich, beautiful weaving tradition and cultural heritage while improving on it, and to drive entrepreneurship in the university, combining academic knowledge and skills gotten from entrepreneurship and innovations that will develop industries is one of university best practices. The university employed a skilled personnel in the art of weaving Akwete, who also is a graduate of a higher institution, us. We decided to use our own, that is, those trained, we trained others. It has its challenges, but it is the best way, really, to effectively create this weaving tradition outside Akwete, without having to deal with their traditional rules of teaching the art. If we keep depending on the Akwete people to learn the art. Well, we opened a center and equipped it with looms and weaving accessories made with good wood, replicating the traditional looms made from bamboo. And some of the accessories actually were gotten from our Akwete town. And some of those accessories were made from palm fronds. Yes. Then we have the challenge of sourcing materials for weaving. Find that our threads that we use, most of them are imported, and it makes the cloth quite expensive. Okay, the AE Funai Akwete Weaving Center. In the slide there, in the picture, you see that was the opening of the center. And if you notice, everyone in that picture, they are all wearing Akwete. And the former Vice Chancellor said something. He said, let us be proud of our own. Let us wear it, let us showcase it. We have something great to offer the world. We are not that inferior thing they try to make us out to be. And truly, that has been a motivating statement for us at the center. The Women Center, you see inside the center students working in the center. Some of the, at the end there, you see a student working on her exam, and you see a finished product there. This particular picture, you see, it's like the processes of the Akwete. These are one of our students from last session, just graduated, and she's an expert weaver. She's an expert weaver. Okay, these are our pioneer students that started, we experimented on starting the weaving with them under a course in textile. And right there you see the processes of Akwete weaving, from the warping to the different stages and then the end product. Okay, now, the different roles played by the Akwete Center. Note, Akwete was just the starting point. The bigger vision is to bring together weaving traditions from different parts into the university system to preserve them. The center is no longer called Akwete Center, but has been renamed as Center for Indigenous Textile. So the Akwete Weaving Center is under this bigger umbrella. We have another weaving tradition we're about to bring in, arrangements and for the Akwete. And we're going to bring it also to that Center for Indigenous Textiles and teach the art. These are the roles the Akwete Center plays: a teaching and learning center, a research center, a cultural center, an entrepreneurial and revenue generating center. So, a teaching and learning center. Yeah, you see, the textile major students learning their textile major. All the people you see there, they're textile major students and learning Akwete weaving technique under a course titled Woven Structures and Fiber. A teaching and learning center. Still, we have graduated 3 sets of textile major students who learned how to weave Akwete. In 2019, we graduated 2 students. 2020, we had 3 students. And this last session, 2021, we had 8 students with our first male students as part of the people weaving. And you see him at the end there. Okay. So these activities at the weaving center. And all of them there you see are textile students of different levels. Okay, a research center. Nigeria needs innovators that will produce and fabricate indigenous materials that can bring development, advancement, sustenance, and better the livelihood of people. That is why mechanization of the Akwete is a major project for us, so that we can impact the industrial space of the region. In collaboration with the Faculty of Engineering, steps have been taken to improve the loom for faster and easier production of the cloth. Mechanization will take place in phases. The team from mechanical engineering have been understudying the weaving process. For the first step, they'll be introducing a machine part, one of the processes that reduces the work done drastically. Because Akwete is really the whole process of weaving it is a bit tedious, trying to warp, trying to fix everything. So introducing those parts, gradually put a lever here and just press a button and it changes the weaving sequence, makes it so much easier. We have been experimenting with innovative yarns like the luminous threads, multicolored threads, not the usual they use to produce what we name Akwete cloth. Also, we have been weaving with motifs that are not necessarily native to Akwete, especially traditional symbols like in CBD, Uli, just to keep get our students to learn about those symbols and their significance in our traditions and other conventional motifs. I want to talk a little bit about the luminous threads. It's a glow, it glows and all that in the dark. I found that if you use this thread, if you want a luxurious furnishing and you use Akwete as cotton, and then we use this luminous thread to weave towards the edges so that especially the bottom part, and when the light goes off, it glows in the dark. It's really a beautiful, beautiful sight. And this was one of the things we wanted to, that was the idea behind taking Akwete to Expo 2020 in Abuja. Okay. Other areas that will be looked into in the near future is processing different fibers like pineapple suckers to make yarns, yeah, and there are other things too, and making our own dyes, and that will involve working with those in departments of agric, chemistry, biotech. Okay, and then number 5, using 3D additive and technology to print textures, patterns on the woven fabric. It's a very interesting thing. We want to try it out. I've been following some research people have been doing on using 3D printers to print fabrics, to print on fabrics and different things like that. So we want to experiment. We want to try it out on the Akwete, plain Akwete, and we use these things to see how we can create textures on the Akwete. Okay, so these innovations on the Akwete cloth, the first photo when we started using the CBD symbols to try. Some of the symbols are even similar to what they use in the Akwete, but we are combining all kinds of things to make them different kinds of thread and see how it comes out. And that's our outing at the National Science, Technology and Innovation Expo Abuja 2020. And the muffler on we are wearing was woven at the center. We wrote 8 on it.
Is going on.
Akwete Center as a cultural center. Yes. Okay. AIF9 as an institution striving to attain world-class status has taken Akwete as one of the tools of building the nation and promoting Igbo culture. Akwete weaving is an indigenous art of the Igbo people, so visitors like to come and see where this traditional weaving is taking place. The Akwete Center works closely with the Igbo Center of the University called Iruka House, Center for the Future of the Igbo. And it has a gallery called Rock Gallery that is for the archiving and documenting of historical facts and cultural practices of Igbo, which of course includes the Akwete cloth, knowing the very important role clothing plays in cultures. Akwete cloth features prominently in the cultural events in the university, like Igbo Day and other official ceremonies of the school. The university has a culture called Traditional Monday, which is the first Monday of every month, when everyone is expected to dress in their traditional attire, and it's usually an opportunity to showcase their Akwete cloth in different forms. This is our Vice Chancellor. The day we are opening the Igbo Center, Vice Chancellor wearing the white. That's an white Akwete with silver motifs. All the motifs the Akwete people use on their traditional motifs on the Akwete cloth have meanings. They have meanings, they have their names, and they have their meanings. Okay, there we see our Igbo Day, Akwete cloths, worn by several people. We came out to showcase do it like a fashion parade of the Akwete cloth and other Igbo clothing. And okay, we see our what you call it, Traditional Monday, and other special occasions in the school where we are wearing Akwete. So these are photos of our Traditional Monday. Our Traditional Monday is not only Akwete that is worn. You find other people from different tribes wearing their own. So there we see the anga of the thief, the black and white, very beautiful cloth, and also the ashoke is also showcased there. Okay, and I'm the Akwete. Okay, Akwete Center as an entrepreneurial and revenue generating center. The Akwete Center has become a place to train people to acquire weaving skills for entrepreneurship for both students and staff of the university, and also those coming from outside. We set up a program that we allow people to come to learn. We have a certain number we can manage. As we train more people, we will expand on it. Okay. The center has been producing Akwete clothes sold to the university community and those outside the university. In fact, the center has had contracts from women groups associations to produce Akwete wrapper for their group as their uniform. And some of our special guests to the university have also contracted us to make Akwete for them. Even some governors that came visited our university. Okay, the center has been producing special branded Akwete regalia for special occasions of the university and souvenirs, gifts of Akwete cloths. And Funai Center for Indigenous Textiles, where Akwete is under, targets industrial production in the near future. Akwete cloth as a brand of the university. Funai is using Akwete cloth as one of the ways for effective branding of the university. The official ceremonial clothes, gifts to university special guests. For example, we wove a customized Akwete for the Vice President, Pastor Yemi Osibanjo, when he came, and we wrote his name on it when he paid a visit to the school. Also, we have given to ambassadors of other nations that came to our university, other people that come to the university, our special guests from wherever. We normally give them Akwete as the university gift. Research done and other outputs from the universities should drive industries, impact the economy positively. So we at Funai envision where our products will be found at international airports, big hotels, international marketplaces, so that both our people and the international community, we have access to this beautiful, rich cultural treasure. So really, we have something great to offer the world. That is why we brought in this great cultural heritage of India into the university system to preserve and propagate it, and wish to reach out to more of these weaving traditions and bring them into the university to preserve them. So there we see our AE49 branded mufflers. We give us gifts, and some of our gifts packaged and all that, and a presentation to some of our special guests by the Vice Chancellor. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Ms. Chiaka. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. I'm so sorry I lost my network before we started. So hello, everyone. I welcome you to the panel 5 and the last panel. We've just had a very wonderful presentation by Ms. Chiaka Nodi. And I want to just say that one of the most wonderful things I think has happened to both entrepreneurship and pedagogy is the combination or bringing in of entrepreneurship studies and practice into the university. So from your presentation, it's so obvious that so much has happened because one of the things I personally observed is that Akwete as cloth has not been widespread like the Ashoke generally. I mean, some other people apart from the Igbo have not been adopting the Akwete. So with this practice, I think a lot will be happening very soon. And I believe a lot of other people will come into the use of the Akwete. You have a lot of questions. I don't know. I think we should just take those questions.
Okay.
Before we move on to the next panel. One person says, where do you source your materials for your work at the university? So maybe you just answer that. Hello.
Okay, yes, okay. Where we source the material, the raw materials we use, the threads we use, we buy them from Aba, we buy them from Onitsha. Like I mentioned earlier on, the challenge of having materials that are mostly imported makes the material a bit expensive. But that's where we get our thread from. We have people we have connection with that bring in these things. And so we buy directly from them to make our Akwete. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I know I shouldn't be commenting like this, but I just wanted to know, do you have distributors in other parts of Nigeria or outside Nigeria?
It's something we started newly. What we've been doing is, creating awareness with people that come. A lot of people that are connected to me or connected to the Vice Chancellor, visitors that come. Those are the people we've been, giving this thing to. But what we want to do is to get outlets outside the university, like especially the airports and some of those places, big hotels. But we have not yet. We have been doing it gradually, little by little. people come to us and we just make these things for them. But I believe as we expand, we'll begin to get wider. I contacted some of my classmates and they said something like, we need to know more about this cloth. Some have made it, some ask me from outside to make it for them. So I'm hoping that as time goes by, the awareness will grow and we can get the market. Yes.
Sorry, just a second question.
Yeah.
Are there similarities? I think there are similarities between the Akwete cloth and the Yoruba woven fabric. I can't recall the name now, but it was mentioned a couple of times today. So are there similarities in terms of the material used, the style, the type of instruments, the texture, the weight, and design style?
Yes, you know, them like the different, there's a big difference though. The Akwete cloth is woven whole. We don't weave in strips. It's not, it's a whole, woven in as a whole, not in strips. Ashoke, most Ashoke I know, they are woven in strips and all that. But there are similarities. We see some of the Akwete that has holes. We see those things. But also in like the motifs, we use a lot of motifs, different kinds of motifs. Ashoke is not that so decorative, I think. I've seen some, but not so decorative as the Akwete cloth in terms of using motifs. So there are some differences, but the weight, it depends on how you weave. There are two types of Akwete. The one woven with cotton and the one woven with silk. One is lighter. And I know that there are silk Ashoke. So if you use the same threads, you might get the same thing. But somehow I feel the Akwete is weightier. It's weightier than most Ashoke I know.
So aside the Ashoke, there's another one that the Yorubas make that they use as Oja.
Yeah, that's the one that has holes.
It doesn't have holes. It's usually white and heavy. I don't know if anybody here knows the name, but it was mentioned here a couple of times today. I'm just trying to recall the name. And I feel I've seen Akwete before, and I feel like they are like the same texture and weight.
Yeah, it might be. You know, it just depends on how you weave it. You know, what we should start doing now is checking the comparisons in a lot of ways. And what I noticed that people did whenever when Akwete started, a lot of people called it Ashoke. They refer to it as Ashoke. You know, but it's not Ashoke. But yeah, maybe. But the decorative way, if you see Akwete, you know it's Akwete, it's not Ashoke.
So it's also a way of preserving Igbo traditional motifs.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Please, can we have the next presenter? Thank you so much, Ms. Chiaka. Your presentation was very wonderful. And we hope we'll be able to have more questions, maybe at the end for discussions. Please, let's have the next presenter.
Now, Africans, especially Nigerians, are known to be lovers of. Thank you for having me. I'll be presenting my paper, which is titled Tie and Dye as a Factor for Cultural Identification, a case study of the Kanuri cultural attire from Borno State. Now, Africans, especially Nigerians, are known to be lovers of culture and traditions, which they showcase at any given opportunity through their cultural attires. Now, cultural attires in Nigeria varies from clan to clan, which has become a means of ethnic identification and especially during festivity. Culture, on the other hand, can be denoted as a way of life or the core root of one's existence on earth. Culture summarizes everything about women's behavior, actions, ideology, belief, practice, etc. Borno State is not an exception of this practice. Observational schedule and non-formal interview were the instruments that were used to obtain data for this study. Africa is beautiful. However, the beauty of Africa is not just about the geographical location, but in its diverse, rich cultural heritage, which includes our arts, our craft, our artifacts, our tales, our music, our belief, our ideology, our religion, poetry, costumes, music, dance, fashion, which is being handed over from generation to generation as a practice, according to Oyeni 2022. Nigeria also, according to Vanguard News 2017, the culture of Nigeria is shaped by the Nigerian multi-ethnic groups with 371 tribes, while Scott 2022 also enumerated that Nigeria has over 521 languages and 1,150 dialects and ethnic groups. Now, Borno, with the slogan "Home of Peace," is also a home of diverse cultural society, traditions, landscape, which is not only being appreciated by the indigenes of the state, but also by non-indigenes. Borno was the heartland of the Kanuri-speaking empire, royal empire of the Kanem Borno, which was renowned throughout Africa and beyond. The Borno Empire lasted from 1380 to 1893 AD, according to Vincent 2017. Now, legend claims that the Borno most dominant culture, which is Kanuri, can be traced to Yemen. However, little is actually known about the earliest phases of the Kanuri culture. But the modern day Kanuri are the descendants of the Safar dynasty of the Kanem Borno, which was as a result of civil war, rebellion, outright invasion by the Bulala. Now, the conflict between the Kanuri and the Bulala lasted for about 10 decades. And then they were forced out of the Kanem Borno at the 14th century. And after nearly 10 decades of bitter conflict here, the Kanuri established a new empire of southwest of Lake Chad. Currently, the majority of the Kanuri live in the Borno province of the northeastern Nigeria. That's according to POS 2021. Now, Borno State has about 27 local government areas, namely Abidam, Askara Uba, Bama, Biu, Bayo, Chibok, Dambua, Tikwa, Gubio, Gazamala, Waza, Halo, Jere, Kaga, Konduga, Bukawa, and the rest. Now, out of these 27 local governments in Borno State, about 18 of the local governments are dominant Kanuri and they speak Kanuri. Only about 9 local governments speak different tribe in Borno State. Now, the Kanuri culture and their traditional attires. The Kanuri indigenes are dominant ethnic group in Borno State, northern Nigeria. However, Kanuri dialect is spoken within and outside Nigeria, especially the bordering countries. In Nigeria, we have the Chad, we have the Cameroon, we have the Niger, Libya, and Sudan. This also can be attested to the fact that Kanuris are immigrants. Predominantly, they are farmers and businessmen and women. They also engage in other activities like clothes embroidery, fishing, local mat weaving, tie and dye, calabash, body decoration, and other skills in order for their livelihood. Now, their kind of attire, their garments, according to Muhammad and Muhammad 2021, has its origin in the culture and traditions of the people as it depicts their belief system, their political interests, and the general consciousness of the people, including their creative instinct. Though due to westernization, however, it brought about little changes in their manner of dressing, as they don't longer dress the way they used to dress, their full regalia of their costumes. Names of the Kanuri attires, we have the Kalu Kabiji, the Kalu Insibidi, Kalu Indi, Dautilu, Kalu Dangasho, Kororuchi, Dangaki. These are mostly attires worn by the male flocks of the Kanuri tribe. Now, one thing is very obvious, that's the Kalu. And one would think Kalu is clothes. No. Kalu is the local embroidery design done by the Kanuri women on their men's clothes and using pure wool and locally yarn made for that purpose. So that's why the Kanuri people usually call it Kalu. Kalu is the embroidery before the clothes. So these are the clothes. Now one would say, this cloth is very common and popular. Yes, this cloth is popular in Nigeria. It's worn especially by the politicians and well-to-do Nigeria, but originally it is the Kanuri indigenous cloth. Then we can now see on plate 2, we have the female Kanuri women wearing their own traditional clothes, and according to Adams 2016 and Haruna 2021, listed the following as mostly worn by the female flags: the Dangasho, the Ganakau, Gambari, Kajaya, and the rest. Now, tie and dye Kanuri cultural attire. Tie and dye, as we all know, is a form of resist technique in textile designing that is either being folded, knotted, or tied in order to resist the penetration of dye solution when being exposed to dye. Now, tie and dye existed long before the 70s and was known as shimbori, a Japanese time that encompasses wide variety of resist dyeing technique. Kanuri traditional tie and dye attire got its name from, usually it's either from the style of sewing or the style of embroidery or the combination of both. As you can see here, we have the Kororochi. Kororochi is the first tie and dye of the Kanuri people. Usually it is either pure black or pure navy blue. Then the Kalu, which is the embroidery, is now being introduced to it. Then it was followed by Kawu Indi Dawutilu, which we can see in figure 4. Usually how they do this is that the two fabrics, the two colors are dyed separately, then taken to the tailor to put them together and sew it in what we call Bobon Riga. Then later the Kalu, which is the embroidery, is being introduced to the fabric. Then followed by the Dangasho. This is the Dangasho. Dangasho is strictly two colors, either white and black or blue and black, as we can see here. And originally, just as mentioned earlier, the colors are two, which is blue and black. But due to westernization now, it is being adopted and dyed in different colors, as we can also see on this plate 6 and 7 here. Now, the origin of the Kawu Dangasho, one will ask, what is the origin? Why the choice of these two colors? Now, in an interview with Bulama, a local dyer in Borno State, he states that the Dangasho got its name from a bird known as Damga. And the Damga in Kanuri is the bad eagle bird with white and black, as you can see. So this is the origin of the choice of using two colors. And then the researcher now asked, okay, the bird is blue, is white and black. But why is it that the popular color being used is blue and black? The Bulama replied that reason is because though they have white and black, but white and black is not as common as the blue and black. Reason being that the white and black, it is strictly used by their royals for royal purpose or events. So it's not everyone that wear the white and black. While the blue and black, it is worn by everybody, especially during their festivity, either dance or weddings. Also, Kanuri also believe that the Kanuris are very beautiful. So they also adopted the beauty of the ancient fairy bluebird, which is blue and black, as they are also color for dyeing. And maybe that is what made the blue and black fabric very common. But when the researcher asked what's the name of the bird, they said they don't really know the name in Kanuri, but they call all of them Damga, which is the white and black eagle bird. They also call this one Damga because it also has two colors. However, Bulama and Ogoli 2022 further states that one of the reasons why the blue color became very popular is because indigo, which is blue, was the first dye that was very popular or common in Borno State and is easily gotten. So reason why the blue now became very popular more than other colors. Now the Dangasho female Kanuri attire, because of this study, we will limit ourselves just to the female attires, which is known as the Dangasho. Now, the Dongosho, usually it is being used by the Kanuris if to their weddings, and usually it is on Friday evenings. Now, this event, according to Al-Ghazali 2016 and Tundu 2021, is known as Wushe Wushe. Wushe Wushe is the event held if to the wedding, to the Kanuri wedding, and usually the family and friends of the bride and the groom come together to tell them Wushe Wushe. Now, Wushe Wushe means well done for taking this bold step of getting married. So that is it. However, the event comes with a lot of other activities, both traditionally and others. One, it is the gunshots, which is the Durukange. Durukange is a special local gun used by the Kanuris, where they stuff the gun with what they call Tularenguta, local incense. So they stuff the gun with it, and then they put their fire and everything, and they blow it. So before you know, the cloud will turn cloudy, the environment will be cloudy and white, then with a very good fragrance. That's the use of that. And then also accompanied with Gangakura. Gangakura is also their local music. They dance along with the friends as they wish them, as they give them advice and tell them, well done, well done. Now, the Dangasho female attire, as you can see here, worn by the friends of the bride. This is the bride seated here. These are her friends. Then their children are not, the Kanuri children are not also left out. These are Kanuri children wearing the Dangasho attire. And then here also are the friends of the bride wearing their Dangasho, the black and blue. And then we have here the bride and her friends. We can see different kind of techniques. Now it's tie and dye, and it allows self-expression. So any technique, any form of dyeing gives them a pattern and design as seen here. Originally, it is blue and black. However, due to choice of color, we now have them in different attires, as we can see here. This is the bride, and then these are her friends wearing green and black. We have here the bride, the groom, and the friends wearing white and black. We have also here the bride and her friends wearing white and wine. The bride and her friends wearing pink and black. So we now have Dangashu in different colors, not strictly as it used to be, as the blue and black. However, there's a rule, and the rule is that it must be two colors, either white and whether white and any other color or black and any other color, but it must not be more than two colors. During the course of this research, the researcher took a field work to Blamari Dyeing Center behind the Show Palace in Borno State. And then here are the findings. One, it was discovered that the local dyers don't have a standard measurement for their dyeing. What they do is that it depends on how much you pay. If the customer pays very well, they make the dye solution very rich, and if you pay medium, they will also make it the way you pay. So this is it, they just measure it based on their interest. After that, they transfer it to the dyeing pot or the dyeing room, as you can see here on plate 2. They have the pots already on the fire with water boiling. So they pour in the chemicals, pour in the dye, stir and turn. Then they dip the fabric and continue turning. After that, this is their local way of straining their excess dye solution. 2 men holding it and squeezing it to strain the excess dye solution. And after that, they put it on the ground for oxidation, as we can see here. Then next we have, this is the first dye. When they want to dye the Kanuri Dangasho fabric, first they do the first dye, which is plain, the light blue or royal blue, depending on the choice of the customer. After that, they now dye, you can see on plate 6 here, they now dye the parts they want to dye black. Or they also explain that sometimes they do the dyeing still different, 2 different fabrics, then they take to the tailor to sew them together, as you can see on plate 7 here. Then it was also discovered that the Kanuri local dyers, apart from the main fabric, which is the Dangasho dyeing, they also engage in plain dyeing of fabric using plain colors, as you can see here on plate 8, different colors, but it has to be plain. It hardly will you see a Kanuri indigene, especially the male flocks, wearing tie and dye of different colors, maybe 2, 3. They don't do that. what they do is either plain dyeing or plain dyed fabric or their normal dangashu, which is their tribal costumes. Now, the researcher also decided to carry out a studio practice, also to produce a studio controlled fabric of the dangashu ABU, to carry the research forward by introducing different techniques of tie and dye to the local dyers to also enhance the acceptability of the dangashu fabric. So the methodology, the practice-based methodology was adopted for this study, which involved the exploration in the studio. The materials, the major materials used here are the fabric, the MBTS, pure cotton fabric. We have our dyes, the chemical, the hydrosulfate, and the caustic soda. And then those are the major materials for this. Then followed by first here, the sizing of the fabric to remove the complete treatment to allow good penetration of the dye, followed by straining of the excess water. Then here is the measurement, dye measurement. The researcher used the normal standard measurement of 2 to 4 for the fabric. So depending, the fabric that was dyed was about 20 yards of fabric. So but 2 to 4 for each 2 yards, that's the measurement, standard measurement that was used by the researcher. As you can see here, very thick. Then followed by the dyeing of the fabric. The first side of the fabric was dyed pure blue, then followed by resistant to dye the black, as you can see here. Then straining of the excess dye. This is the process of oxidation of the fabrics that were produced. Now, results of the production, as you can see, this is the male model wearing the dangashu fabric, and this is the researcher alongside with other models wearing the dangashu fabric as well. Yes, then here also, this style here, this is the normal style of the Kanuri people, the style of the nodding of their head. And then here, you can see also the studio controlled dyeing. Now, discussion. The constant innovation and exploration taking place in the textile field in regards to tie and dye textile technique has advanced the popularity of the Kanuri cultural attire, especially in the northern region of Nigeria, as the fabric is being accepted and used also by the non-indigens. Now, review also shown that despite the fact that the Kanuri have several cultural attire which have been gradually accepted and used as everyday clothing, especially by men in Nigeria, the tie and the Kanuri attire, that's the dangashu, the kororobchi, the kalu, indi dauta, tilu, the kalu dangashu, which is the pure blue black fabric, still remains sacred and outstanding, and it is purely associated to Kanuri cultural activities. So once you see someone wearing wherever, even if it's outside Borno State, wearing blue and black, anybody that knows the fabric will tell you this is the Kanuri fabric. Then the use of tie and dye as a technique for the production of the Kanuri attire has helped in the promotion of the availability and the acceptability of the traditional fabric, because it is cost effective in comparison to other cultural attires, which means of production is weaving. Weaving over the years as a technique has proven to be time consuming, demanding, and also expensive. Now, the study also has proven that the Kanuri tie and dye fabric is being appreciated and accepted more than the other cultural attires. This may be as a result of it being friendly to the body, because the cotton fabric being used, which makes it comfortable to be worn at all times in comparison to other cultural attires, which are wettier due to the thick yarns used in weaving the fabrics, therefore can only be worn for functions and for a very short while. Now, the study also proved that the tie and dye fabrics are better appreciated and patronized by the Kanuri culture of Borno State, and therefore it recommends that utmost importance should be given by textile designers to creatively introduce the adaptation of this tie and dye fabric into Nigerian cultures to expand the acceptability of this tie and dye and further enhance the income of textile designers. Now, the study proved that the survival and acceptability of the Kanuri traditional cultural attire is as a result of the availability of material, cost effectiveness, nature of the cultural fabric, and the method of production, which is simple and can be practiced by everyone with skill or no skill, with structure or no structure. So therefore, it is being recommended that the textile designers should explore the introduction of tie and dye textile resist technique as one of the medium for producing their cultural attires for sustainability and also acceptability by the old and young. And for few cultures that are now exploring other textile techniques for imitation of their cultural attires, more effort should be geared towards the promotion of these techniques for better patronage and acceptability of this fabric. Thank you. The researcher have some videos here that she also wish to share. So,
Wow. Thank you so much. Wow, that was a very wonderful presentation. And I don't know if I'm the only one that is excited because I'm getting to know about Northern fabric actually for the first time. I know I have a question anyway.
they're dying. Yes.
Hello?
On the fire, and then we can see these are the places don't wear different multicolor.
So I think she was trying to show us some videos. Mrs. Otonya's voice is breaking. I didn't see anything.
Okay. And also we have of the Kanuri. This is how it is. This is downloaded just to show us. Yes, these are the friends of the bride, as you can see. Yes, they have been showing. That's the local music, one of the local music. This is well done, telling her well done for taking a good step. These are the friends wearing the show attire. Yes, that's the bride.
Sorry, she's trying to show us some videos, but the videos are not playing. So I'm just, I'm not sure she's aware of that. So I'll just try to play them from my end.
Okay.
I shared them here, yeah.
Okay.
So I'll just play them here.
Okay.
This is the that she's trying to play. Though, yes, this is it. Okay.
حصنوها وبخروها من العين احفظوها حصنوها وبخروها من العين احفظوها عشان ما يسحروها إلى الماء بيجبروها عشان ما يسحروها إلى الماء بيجبروها عندي كيف يوصفوها.
Okay, and then she was also trying to show us the men doing the work. So this is it. It's just a couple of seconds, I think. Yeah. Okay, thank you. I think this is the end of her presentation. So, Mrs. Otis,
Okay,
back
thank you
to
so much.
Mhm.
Thank you, Lillian. Thank you so much for that assistance. So, can you hear me now?
Yes, it's clear now.
Okay. Because I had to stop my video. I discovered it was interrupting. So
Yes.
can others hear me? Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Deborah. That was a very fascinating presentation. Especially, it was refreshing and also quite new coming from the north. But I don't know if she can hear me. I want her to just ask a question before we move on to the next presenter. Can she hear me? Please, Deborah, can you hear me?
Deborah, she's here,
Can
but
you hear me,
let me
Deborah?
ask her to unmute.
Okay.
She's here, but she's not talking. And I chatted her up just to keep her on standby, but maybe she stepped out. Okay, maybe we can move on to the next person.
We can move on to the next presenter.
You can show the
I wanted to ask a question. I wanted to ask a question about maybe someone else could also. Let me just ask the question so that it will be there in the air.
Okay.
The difference between the Kanuri actually is not popular. It's not as popular as the Hausans. When you say Northerner, they think about it. So everybody there is either a Hausa or a Fulani. So it's refreshing to know that the Kanuris actually have this type of tie-dye kind of production. Now, the question I want to ask, what's the difference between the Kanuri dyeing and the Kano dyeing pits? Because the Kano dyeing pits are very popular style of dyeing. So is there any specific difference between the Kanuri and the Hausa Fulani dyeing that goes on in Kano? So we'll just leave that there. Maybe later she'll be able to answer that. So let's go on to the next presenter, who is Midu Olubenga. Is he around? Okay.
Hello.
Hello, welcome back.
Yeah,
okay,
thank you.
Is it Deborah that is back?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm back.
Okay.
Good evening.
Did you hear my question? Did you hear my question?
Yes, I did. The question is, you are asking if there's a difference between the Kano pit dyers and the Kanuri dyers. Yes, I've not been to Kano. I've not been to Kofomata dyeing pit, though I've heard a lot about it. But I think the difference is the Kano dyers do their dyeing in the pit. So the mixture is similar to that of Mamanike, Oshobo dyeing center. The mixture of the dye and everything is done inside the pit, and then the dyeing takes place inside the pit. But that of the Kanuri culture, it is being mixed on the fire in the pots, not inside the pit, and the dyeing takes place there. So that's just the difference.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. That was so fascinating. For me,
thank you,
it's the first time I'm actually looking at I'm here getting to know about the Kanuri.
Yes, and I would like to also say,
they're very fascinating.
Yes, I would also like to say that I just came back. I arrived yesterday from Netherlands from a conference. Yes, and a textile workshop. And I was surprised when we were taken to one of the galleries there one of the museum there in Netherlands. I got to see a lot of, I now saw this fabric, this blue and black fabric I'm talking about. I saw it in the museum there and I was surprised. Then I have to ask, this is the Kanuri fabric from Nigeria, from Borno State. And they were telling me that, no, this is from Kenya. So I now told them that fine, I'll go to do some investigation. But while reading the caption there, And also the Kanuri people were also mentioned on that there. So you can see how far these fabrics are traveling for me to go to the Netherlands and see the Nigerian fabric over there. So I also want to post a challenge that we need to do more research on our culture, because these white people come into the country to, get some information about our culture and display over there. Meanwhile, we in the country, we still don't know much about our country. So it's a challenge to me as well. And I want to also challenge my fellow textile designers that we need to start promoting these cultural fabrics so that it will be well known and we can tell our stories very well too in the country. So that's just it. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
We
Yes.
are actually the best storytellers of our stories.
Yes, yes.
So
The line is breaking again.
Give our stories to others to tell.
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you so much. That
Thank
was
you.
very wonderful.
Thank you. You're welcome. Bye.
Sorry, please don't say bye. We may still have questions for you at the end. We just want to move on to the presenter. There will still be questions after the session is complete.
Is it a pre-recorded?
No, it's not.
Okay, thank you.
Is it a pre-recorded presentation?
No.
The next one?
No, it's a live presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Emidun.
So, Lillian, can we go on to the next presenter?
Okay, your line is breaking. I'll just. Your line is breaking.
Yes. We'll still need you to be around. We still need you to be around. Yes.
Okay, so is Emidun here? I've been searching.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and share the presentation for Abby Esho while we wait for him. Please, your line is
you may have to mute
I'll just mute her now.
It's a live presentation. Can we go to the is the last presentation? So Adeleke also around. Can we go on to the last? Is it the recording?
Yes. So this is the last presenter. While we wait for Emidun. And this is Abby Esho Adeleke.
Yeah, so good evening, everybody. My name is Abby Esho Adeleke, and I'm joining from the United States of America. And the topic that I wanted to speak on is empowering women through African fashion accessories. And so when the conversation came about, talking about African fashion accessories, I thought it would be interesting to talk about African fashion accessories, but using a case study. So when there's certain things that come up, you're thinking, how do we talk about African fashion accessories? I'm not a textile maker. I'm an end user. But in my journey over this last number of years, I have used the African fashion accessories as a platform. So in starting to have this conversation, I thought the best thing to do would be to start from where it all started. So I've over the last 30 years, I've lived here in the United States. And I would say at the beginning of the journey, it wasn't always, even though I was born, I was raised in Nigeria, not born, but raised in Nigeria. And when we moved here about 30-some years ago, African fashion wasn't as popular and as big as it is now in the diaspora. I know it's always been big in Nigeria. And so a lot of us did more of the Western wear. And it was about a number of years ago probably about 10 to 15 years ago, that there was, for me personally, so this is my story. For me personally, I started to reorient myself to wearing more of the African fashion accessories. It became more, more popular, and, everything is Nigeria to the world and things like that. And so that's the foundation of how this all started. So if you want to go to the next slide, and I think it's very important to say this, it says that if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, go with other people. And I said, okay, let me tell you my story, a one person's adventure through empowering women through African fashion accessories. We can go to the next one. And there'll be ones that we will spend some time. So how did I even get here? I'm a researcher at heart. And I said, what were some of the things I was seeing in my general environment, in my community? I was seeing a generation that wasn't exposed, that is not exposed to authentic African culture and fashion. Now, some people may say, well, but it's always been around. And now I'm speaking from a one-person perspective. I was seeing people where they were not doing a lot of African fashion accessories, and even if they did, they were buying them online, and they were not buying them authentically from Africa. So my business proposition was this was a problem statement I identified, that it was important that I start to introduce authentic African culture and fashion. And then I also came across, and I found myself around African Americans, and many people that were born and raised here but still claim ancestry to Africa, that they had a disconnect with African ancestries. More recently, people have started to go to Ghana, and they start to go to the motherland, as people say here. But for the most part, they were not wearing a lot of authentic African fashion accessories. And then the third part that I found was that even when people were interested, they didn't know where to find the authentic fair trade African fashion accessories. People bought from the largest retailer in the world, whose name we shall, it's not important to this discourse. And that's where they bought those from, or maybe they bought it from parts of Asia and things like that. And I felt that it was important to begin to reintroduce the authentic. So the two keywords here is authenticity as well as fair trade. So if you go to the next slide. And so I decided that, okay, what was the best thing to do? And before we even got to the solution, one of the first things I did was what you would consider a customer discovery journey, meaning getting together a number of people and setting up a questionnaire to them and saying, would you buy African fashion accessories? How much would you pay for African fashion accessories? Where do you currently buy African fashion accessories? And when you do buy them, what are some things that are important to you? Is it the colors? Is it the vibrance of the colors? Is it the sizes? Is it the styles? Is it just the plethora of colors that come together in our African fashion accessories? And coming out from that, there were certain themes that came up. And those themes came up about, what kind of price point people were interested in buying, what kind of fabrics and what kind of styles that people were interested in paying for African fashion accessories. So armed with that, I began to go back and say, well, this mission here is not just the mission of, buying things from the continent of Africa, which I do, or just selling things here, which I do. But what was the corporate social responsibility angle to this? What was important to me? What was important to me is women's empowerment. And so for me, sourcing directly from the continent of Africa and sourcing directly from women-owned companies was very important to me. So based on this background of information, I set out to say, okay, now I need to start to source. Where do I source from? And I started to look at, what would this whole concept be? This one woman journey be? For me, it was sourcing directly from the continent of Africa, meaning Nigeria was where I started, but I also saw from South Africa, from Zambia, from Kenya, and from Ghana at this point. And so what was this all going to be? What was the solution to this problem that I had identified? The solution to that problem was Abi Esho Accessories, which here says offers a one-stop shop for all things African fashion, accessories and decor. But the key word there is authentic African fashion accessories. So I curate pieces from all over Africa, and I make sure that one thing I do is to source products from women-owned businesses on the continent of Africa. And for you may say, well, why women? Why do you seem to? I come from that standpoint, from the fact that I come from a long line of women entrepreneurs. So I saw my mother trading. I saw my mother trading when, going to Beirut, when Beirut was still Beirut. I saw my grandparents, my grandmothers on both sides were traders, as we call them. Now we use the fancy name entrepreneurs, but back then they were just simply traders. And I saw them trading. And so I grew up in that environment. Even my paternal grandfather was both of my grandfathers were traders as well. So the only person that was not a trader that was around me was my dad. My dad was what you would consider somebody that was more into the business field, but I did learn a lot from him about how to run a business, because that was his major, was running a business, and also procurement and also purchasing. And so I took all that knowledge and I said, okay, now I'm in America. I've been here at that point in time about 20 years. What do I do with this knowledge that I have acquired? And that's how the Abi Esho Accessories, that Esho being in my maiden name, has come up in terms of, not just the African fabrics, not just the earrings, it's the decor, it's all these other things that, and in the last probably 30 years or more, I've found myself in very diverse communities. And as I found myself in very diverse communities, it's been a blessing to me, because then every opportunity to showcase the culture of Africa is one thing that I have been able to do over that period of time. So if we go to the next slide, so this is where we are. So based on that information and leveraging my background, my doctorate is in business administration with an emphasis on marketing strategies. And part of my dissertation was on I called it the 8P of marketing, even though it's an advancement of the initial 4P of marketing, meaning the price, the product, the place, and the promotion. So based on the customer, now this price is here, where at the point in time when I conducted my customer discovery journey, now we're not making out for inflation. And I have to say, DHL and FedEx have taken a lot of my money because I'm not at that point yet where I can do the cargo from these countries back here. But this was what I found, that people were willing to pay a price point of between 50 and 200 per outfit. And this was some of the things that we're interested in. I think I'm going to add the Kanuri outfit to it. I'm going to add the Akwete to it now, based on all the conversations that we've had today. People are interested in the Kente, the tie and dye, the Guinea brocade, the Atiku, which is more Nigerian oriented. And then I also found out that when we talk about the place, this was some of the preferred channels. I'm online, and I've been an early adopter of the online business. And when COVID hit, I didn't have to do anything different. I just needed to slap my mask on and go to the post office when I could. So I think one lesson learned there is that even if you're a storefront person, in this age, as we have come out of the pandemic, it's very important to also be an online, have an online space. And then in terms of promotions, most of it is, as I said, early adopter of the technology. Whatever technology is coming out, I'm one of the first people in my circle to learn it, whether it's TikTok, whether it's Instagram, whether it's Snapchat, being there, still there. And also doing some YouTube demos. One thing I've found out is in the environment where I currently live, we have a lot of pop-up shops and a lot of expos. And one thing I found very fascinating is that when you go there and you take the head tie and you tie it in front of people, you almost see that people come around you like you're like becomes like a whole show, and then you just show people how you tie it and the outfits and things like that. But people have loved this African fashion, and I just see the growth of where it can come from. I think I may have one or two more slides, if you don't mind. I think I may have another slide.
The next slide.
So challenges. Yeah, so challenges, as with every business, these challenges are not even the ones that came from COVID, because the ones that came from COVID was the inability of getting things across here. This has always been a challenge, probably continues to be a challenge. And as an end user, as you continue to empower women through African fashion accessories, and if there's something that you're interested in, or you want us to be one of your stockists in the United States, please hit me up, and that information will come later. We've had shipping challenges because of, as I mentioned, we're relatively small, so we can't leverage the services of cargo. I always tell Professor Peju that when I grow up, I'm going to be like her. But we'll start from where we are now. So over the last year, I found out that sourcing from South Africa and Ghana was, for me, preferable over Nigeria. It saddens my heart because I have Nigerian descent. I'm of Nigerian descent, and not being able to source because of the exchange rates from the dollar to the naira has been a little bit of a setback for me in terms of what I do. I think I may have one last slide. I know I talk a lot. And so this is me. This is me. I'm Abi Adeleke. I currently live in the US. That's my Instagram page as well as my Facebook page, and that's our website. And one thing I found out, and I think is very important, and I really do appreciate Professor Peju for doing it through this event, is having a lot of women, and I love the male allies, for having a lot of women come in and showcase the cultures of Africa and showcase the textile and tell this powerful storytelling. We've had this powerful storytelling sessions over since yesterday, and will continue tomorrow. And so I just want to take a quick moment and just say thank you to Professor Laiwola, and just say, this has been a great platform for me. This has been a great opportunity for me, and open for questions. And we'll continue to empower women. That is the goal. The goal is to continue to empower women, continue to shop from women. And one more thing, sorry, if I may just quickly put a plug in here. About a year ago, I set up a nonprofit organization, which we call NGOs in our part of the world in Nigeria, and it's an education foundation. So part of what this accessories unit does is to fund the foundation so that women can come up and women can have cottage industries and produce things, and then we can sell them and put the money back in the foundation as part of my contribution to the empowerment of women. Thank you very much.
Whoa, beautiful. Okay. Thank you so much. So back to you, Dr. Otoye. So if you have any questions, please, if you'd like to speak, please let me know. Someone was raising her hand earlier. Okay, she's no more here. Someone was ready. I think it's, yes, Catherine. Catherine, would you like to speak now? Catherine Audu.
Yes, it's Catherine Audu,
Oh,
and
Catherine
this is
Audu.
for
Sorry.
it's for Dr. Abby Ashaw Adeleke. Dr. Abby, thank you so much for what you do, and I know firsthand that you do a lot for the community and you give back. Have you ever thought about having a sort of pop-up traveling fair to bring this to other areas? A lot of places don't sell authentic African accessories. We see the knockoffs from China being replicated and selling here in Chicago. Have you ever thought about doing a traveling, being part of traveling fairs?
Okay, did you hear that?
Sorry, I had myself on mute.
Oh.
Yeah, I had myself on mute. Yeah, I have thought about it, and I have some plans in the works. I just wanted to use that biblical reference. You know, you start from Judea, Samaria, and then you go to the other parts of the earth. And so I was trying to get grounded in what will be considered my Judea. And then the Samaria would be like maybe Dallas area, and then move down to the Chicago area. But it's in the works, and hopefully myself and Professor Laiwola can be traveling sisters, the traveling sisters of what they call it, the sister pants, and take this show on the road. But it's a plan in the works.
Okay. One last question before you go, Dr. Abby, and the other doctor, I'm sorry, I don't know her name, but I know you said you had challenges with doing business with probably Nigerian vendors. Have you thought about, or would it be in the works for when you do go back home, setting up your own little, getting a few vendors together, train them on work ethics and etiquette, and so that they could now produce and sell out, but gathering these vendors together, being under your auspices and training them to sell out to the world, because I think that's where we fall short in Nigeria. Customer service sucks, if excuse my French, and but I think our girls are not leaving them out of it, because what you're doing, you're now reaching out to South Africa, Kenya, and Ghana, but then you're leaving out our girls who could probably learn from you. So have you ever thought about that?
Yes, so thank you so much. That's a great question. So twofold answer. So that's part of what the foundation is designed to do. The Shaw Family Foundation is designed to have my own people that I don't want to say work for me, because then it makes it so high and mighty, but kind of like, under the auspices of the foundation, and then on a separate note, on an aside, so that's in the works, number one. Number two, as an aside, customer service, excellence in customer service is one thing that I teach on in my consulting business. And how do we do customer service, either from a biblical point or just doing customer service intentionally. And as somebody who has gone to Nigeria back and forth and goes to Nigeria, that is an area that we still need a lot of help. When somebody comes into the store, how do you ask them what they want? If you go to a store here, you want to go for one thing, you end up buying 6, 7 things, because somebody will suggest to you, have you thought about buying this? This will match this. And before you know it, you bought more things than you had planned to buy. But that's customer service, and the ability to say, well, if this thing didn't work out, we can give you an exchange. Back at home, it doesn't happen like that. Once you walk through there, nobody will give you the money back. And it's almost as if it's a one and done transaction, which should not be. You should have a customer for life. And so these are some of the things that I'm already teaching on, and part of that is on my YouTube channel when I talk about marketing and talk about life. I'm already teaching about customer service, but the flip side of that is having these cottage industries where women can come together, create things, and then we can sell it through the business associates and put the money back in the foundation and do this thing again, like you say, rinse and repeat.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And yes, as you touched on that, I think the empowerment should start with grass level and basics, customer service, etiquettes with dealing. Everyone's a seller. We see the whole of Africa, everyone's selling. But as you said, there's no continuity. There's no, you don't have customers for life because you do one transaction and you don't send your thank you notes. You're not appreciative of what that customer has just bought from you. So thank you so much for whatever you do so far. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can you hear me now?
Could I mention something?
Okay.
Are you hearing me? I guess so. It's so funny because when I was in Nigeria, I felt that customer service was much better than what I ever had here in the US. And even when I'm ordering from Nigeria. But there is a woman, I forget her first name, but her organization is called Bella Africana. And she's doing amazing work with working with people to your point of how to do customer service, how to manage their business. And I know she's helped some people that I know personally with their business. And I know maybe it's location. Of course, when I was shopping by myself, I was in Lagos. When I was in Benin City, I had other people, kind of my go-between. But I still buy from Nigeria direct with DHL from vendors because I like the products better than the made in China things that I can buy here for the same price. So I think, and you're doing a good job online. And I think with the pandemic, people stopped buying in shops anyway. I don't go to malls anymore. I buy online. I just started following you so I could see what you have. But, and I think you here in the US, educating African Americans, Black Americans, people of color, whatever you want to say, to what is authentic indigenous fabrics, because most people that I know of ask about Ankara. And that's what I see in the African stores nearby that I can go to. I'm just outside of Philadelphia. It's a very misconstrued, very, people want to say they want to learn their heritage, but they don't really spend the time. And that's across the boards, any culture. They want to jump on bandwagons, but to do something like today, where to really learn about things. And I know people have stopped me, and if you stop and ask me and comment on my Ashoke purses or shoes, you will get a lesson because I'm a teacher in the technology. So it doesn't matter where they're from, but I think you can have that platform far better than I can. So keep up the good work.
Thank you so much. Mrs. Chaka Nodi, are you still here? Chaka Nodi.
Is there a question for her?
Yeah, there's a question for Chaka Nodi. Okay, she's not here. How about Deborah? Deborah, are you here? Deborah? No, Deborah, no Chaka Nodi. Okay. There are questions for them. I just wanted to pass that.
round up if you don't have any other questions.
Okay.
So we still can't find
is the
Emilu
last present-
Benga, who is supposed to be the third presenter, but couldn't make it to be the third. We're hoping to have him as the last presenter, but he's still not here. I guess that means he will forfeit his slot.
There's a hand up. There's a hand up under the attendees.
Yes, but I'm trying to find who it is. I can't see the person. Please, if you raised your hand, raise it again. I can't find you. I don't know if it's a network problem.
Is the last?
It was Catherine, I believe, the person that was speaking before.
Okay.
Catherine, I'm trying to read her screen.
Yes, Miss Karen. And the question is actually for you. I see that you're wearing the indigo, the most. Yeah, it's lovely. I mean, every kid who went to school who did art, we did batik, tie and dye, the indigo color. And I see you have a mix there. Who's the creator of what you're wearing? If you could give that person a plug.
Yes, he was on earlier today. He was one of the speakers earlier. His business is Expressional. It was I forget how to say his first name. His last name Alawashon.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
he was one of the speakers earlier. He's from Abercada.
Yeah.
And he gifted this to me. But I find this hard to wear because of my skin color, people will take offense.
No, please.
Yes.
Please.
Believe me, I have dealt with it. Yeah, not so much with my Ashoke shoes or my bag, because people don't know that. But something as this has fringe on the pocket. It has Ashoke. It's very, very ethnic, and I have had people speak to me about appropriation. So I just say it was a gift, and I love it, and I love handmade things, and I lived in Nigeria, so what can I say? But I am cautious about where I wear things.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it was not from any Nigerian, because we're proud that you're.
So usually Nigerians will recognize it and say, "Oh," and then I start crying and ask them if they can make me jollof rice.
Thank you, Ms. Karen.
Okay, so I guess we'll draw the curtain here, at least for the night. Or are there any contributions? Anybody has something else to say? We can't find the presenters to answer their questions. I've tried to reach out to them, but I think partly network or something.
I think Miss Nodi came back.
Okay.
She's back.
Are you back? Okay, great. So there was a question for you asking where you source your materials from. Where do you source your materials?
Okay, that's what I'm saying. I get it from Aba. There are people that bring in a lot of thread from outside, some from China, and then another source we have is in Onitsha.
Oh, great.
So they are imported, really, a lot of the threads. I had hoped that textiles then used to produce when cotton was available, but I don't think we have that working out very much. So it's easier to get these materials from outside. So we have people who are distributors that we deal with in Onitsha and in Aba market. Yes.
Okay. So Onyinye and Nwankwo said, Dr. Chaka, your presentation stands out. Akwete is indigenous to people of my state, but has not made tremendous progress for some reasons. However, with your center entrenching it in your course module is one of the ways to to sustain this tradition. And
Yes.
oh, I can't see.
Okay.
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 And oh, I can't see it. Sorry.
Okay.
And
Okay.
oh, well, I think I lost. I'm trying to read exactly what she wrote there, but something
Okay.
it's blocked and I can't.
So I think we just end the session now.
Okay.
People are tired, and I think we've had a very full day, very wonderful presentations. Thank you so much for being so patient. It was really wonderful listening to all the presenters, and all the comments that came in were really spot on. Thank you so much, Dr. Otoye, for handling this session. We'll start tomorrow again at 2 p.m. West African time. That's the last day of the conference, and I'm sure we also have really fantastic presentations.
Yes.
Thank you so much, and have a wonderful
Thank
evening.
you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Tomorrow we'll have the Nigerian jollof and Fanta and Coke.
Thank you so much. It's been
No
very
Nigerian
beautiful.
conference without item 7, you know. All right. Good night.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. Bye.